Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for coming to my rinky-dinky little channel where I put up videos where I just speak from my heart and from my mind, and I don't do a lot of work editing them or trying to put them together for mass appeal. Recently, I put out a video challenging Kristan Hawkins to a debate. Kristan Hawkins is a pro-life leader. She is a long-time pro-life leader. She has been the director of Students for Life of America for as long as I have been in the battle. I became an abolitionist back in 2011. I think shortly thereafter, she became the director of Students for Life, if she weren't director already at that point in time. Anyway, I went from being just a Christian who was apathetic about abortion to becoming an abolitionist of abortion, an advocate of abolishing, criminalizing abortion as murder. Why in the world would I be challenging Kristan Hawkins to a debate? This is a bit confusing to a lot of people. Here are some comments that came on that video. There were a lot of comments of people that understood what was going on, but here are some of the comments that appeared underneath that video pretty quickly. I'm confused. I thought it's the same thing. Anti-abortion and pro-life and abolitionist are exactly the same. All three can also be called don't murder babies. Is that true? I want to talk about that. There are a number of comments that said the same thing. I just like these. I don't understand. A pro-life person doesn't want abortion illegal? I don't get it. Another guy said, I don't get it. The pro-life movement doesn't want to criminalize abortion? Am I wrong? Right? A number of these comments, and I'm going to get into specific comments in this video. And when I read the specific ones, I'll say who made them and interact with those specifically. But I want to answer a bunch of questions about exactly why there is this debate. There's this riff. This kind of like, yes, it is division between the pro-life movement and the abolitionist movement. The reason it's division is because there are good, well-meaning, serious followers of Jesus Christ who consider themselves pro-lifers and consider themselves abolitionists. And a lot of people who are just now coming into this debate don't understand the differences between these movements and just how far apart we are. So it wasn't surprising for me to see that there were comments like this. Horrible to see two people that ought to be working with each other, instead working against each other. I respect both individuals. Like comments like that, I look at them and I'm like, man, that's why I want to make this video. Others just straight up saying, causing division is not godly. And I agree 100%. We should not cause or create division. And as I told this brother, all the debate and division that's going on here, the debate and the division and the insanity and chaos that was blowing up my phone the other night, which led to me making the debate challenge for Kristan Hawkins, is not division that we have created. It is division that truly exists. So some people are exposing that division because we believe that there are well-meaning, hardcore, loving, kind, Bible-believing followers of Jesus Christ who are completely unaware of the fact that the pro-life movement and the abolition movement are one, different and at odds, and two, and this is the thing that I want to try to convince you of, maybe not in this video, but in multiple videos, the abolitionist movement has built itself upon the Word of God and what I believe, reality. And the pro-life movement has built itself upon ideas and ideologies against the Word of God. I know that's hard to believe. And so I don't expect to just convince and persuade people overnight, but I believe that there is truth and that we can get to that truth together. So yes, I agree with this brother 100%. Causing division, causing it is ungodly. Seeking Unity, when there is division, is not ungodly. And while it might cause a little bit of fighting and a little debating and had led me to challenge Kristan Hawkins to a debate, it's not for the sake of retaining that division, but demolishing it. I would like to do away with all the division. I would like, as that first commenter said, all the anti-abortion, pro-life, and abolitionist people, all the people who think don't murder babies, I would like all of us to be 100% aligned and in unity as we battle abortion and seek to criminalize it. Okay, so first off, I'm going to get to a bunch of these comments. So if you left a comment on that video and you're wondering if I'm going to address that comment, I may be able to address it in the comment section. I may address it in this video. But before I get to it, there were a number of comments that essentially came down to just people kind of expressing their confusion. They were kind of like, this does not seem right. Like, I follow Kristan Hawkins. I follow Lila Rose. I follow these pro-life leaders, and they're fighting pro-choicers in the same way that you are. Where's the divide? There were people that are like, man, I didn't see this coming. And then there are people that are kind of like saying, okay, you're lying. Clearly you're misrepresenting her. Something is amiss. Pro-life and abolitionists mean the same thing, right? To let those folks in on the big trade secret of the pro-life movement. And when I mean pro-life movement, I am talking about the pro-life establishment, the pro-life industry. I'm talking about the pro-life leaders, the leading top dogs, the ones who are on the stage every year at the March for Life, the ones who are running the big organizations with the massive budgets, the ones that are like pulling down like $300,000 a year. I'm talking about the pro-life leaders, like the establishment figures who set the agenda and the approach of the pro-life movement and speak for all of the pro-life people and claim them as followers and adherents to their views. The trade secret is that if you look at the ideologies, the strategies, and the philosophical principles and tenets of the people at the top, you will find that they are almost, to a man or to a woman, 100% anti-abolition, when you understand what I mean by abolition. Anti-criminalization of abortion. The reason we call ourselves abolitionists is because there are laws, unjust laws, that are set up in this country that protect the practice of child sacrifice so long as you kill your child while they are in the womb. Those laws, those protections on the books in the states and in the federal government need to be abolished. If you've seen this symbol around, it just means abolish human abortion, right? Abortion's upside down because it's inconsistent with the higher law of God. It's separated by this H, which has multiple meanings. H, the higher law of God, right? H, why? Because human beings are made in I, the image of God. And because of the incarnation of Christ, Christ became human like us in all things in order to die for our sins, to experience everything that we'd experience, right? Human beings are insanely valuable to God. And God himself explained to Noah, who we are all related to, back to Noah and then back to Adam, explained that the reason that murder is wrong and should be prohibited is because human beings are made in the image of God. If you shed the blood of an innocent human being by human beings, your life will be forfeited, right? That is the first law given to Noah after the flood. Don't get all twisted. I'm not going to get into like a Bible study here. I'm just saying that abolitionists are people who believe that there is a higher law, thou shalt not murder, that is above all laws, and that any law that is in contradiction to that law, set up to allow murder, should be abolished. Hence, abolish human abortion. All right, so abolitionists, that's what we believe. We're trying to abolish these laws. And you say, oh, when I say all that to well-meaning pro-life people, they always say, bro, that's what I believe. That's what I want as a pro-lifer. And then I have to say, well, brother, sister, what you don't realize is that the pro-life movement has not been seeking to abolish those laws, but has actually been seeking to create those laws. And that should be a shocker to you. But you can look at the books. You can look at the past 50 years of law writing from pro-lifers in this country. Law after law after law, regulating child sacrifice, explaining what you have to do before you abort a baby. You have to look at an ultrasound. You have to set up an appointment. The appointment's got to be 72 hours out of the way. You can abort babies with vacuum aspirators and curettes, but not forceps, right? You can abort babies up until the point that they feel pain, but not after. You can abort babies up until the point that they have cardiac activity that's detected by an abortionist, but not before, or not after. Pro-life laws have not been trying to abolish human abortion, but have been saying that, hey, abortion is a thing and it needs to be regulated. Now, I'm not saying that their motives haven't been right. They've been writing these laws. Many of them have been fighting for these laws out of a desire to protect human beings. Like pro-lifers, like their North Star, the thing, if you were going to say, what is the pro-life movement's main focus? What has it been? It's been equal protection. Pro-lifers, they are trying in their own way to establish equal protection. But the trade secret is it's equal protection without equal justice. They do not want justice, okay? And that is where the divide comes in. And whenever you're talking to these pro-lifers and you say, hey man, I think that the laws, an abolitionist says, I think that the laws against murder should be applied equally to all human beings, to all image bearers. 9 out of 10 pro-lifers that you run into like at a church are going to be like, me too, brother, let's go. What they don't realize, again, is that the pro-life establishment, the pro-life industry, speaking for the pro-life movement, for them says that is precisely what the pro-life movement is not for. Now, when I say that, you're going to immediately say something like, whoa, 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 that's tinfoil hat craziness. That's not true. Russell, you are lying about the pro-life movement. That is not true. I know these people. I've been giving to these people. I've gone to the March for Life. They think abortion's murder every bit as much as the abolitionist. I hate to break this to you, but that is not only something that I am saying that could be accused of misrepresenting, but they are saying it themselves. Now, you can look this up, all right? I'm going to go through this letter, but you can look this up on your own. I might have to edit. I might have to put these images into this video after the fact. I try not to, make any of our editors work on these videos, but this, you can find this and you can read this for yourself. This is called an open letter to state lawmakers from America's leading pro-life organizations, right? This was written May 12th, 2022, and it was addressed to all state legislators in the United States of America. Who signed the letter? Before we get into the contents of the letter, it's addressed, this letter is addressed to all state legislators in the United States of America. Sincerely, from 72 pro-life organizations. Who are the 72 pro-life organizations? All of the leading pro-life organizations that you know about and that you've heard of who are involved in the legislative battle. So, for instance, National Right to Life. Well, I marked these, so I'm not going to read all of them. You can go read all of them. But National Right to Life, Susan B. Anthony List, Americans United for Life, March for Life Action, the Pro-Life Action League, the progressive anti-abortion uprising, the new wave feminist, and Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention. So everyone from the new wave feminist to the National Right to Life to the ERLC of the Southern Baptist Convention, and then page after page of, this state, right to life, that state, right to life, pro-life, that state, pro-life, this state, Illinois Federation of Right to Life, Indiana Right to Life, Iowa Right to Life, Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition, Louisiana Right to Life, Florida Right to Life, after one after another. Lifenews.com. So we are talking about the pro-life movement leaders. And in their letter, we will see that they are writing their view and they're saying they represent and speak for tens of millions of pro-life Americans. What's in this letter, you ask? Well, I am telling you, I'm not going to read the whole letter. It's just 4 pages long, right? And then there's, a few pages of signatures. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I do want you to look it up. So you can Google open letter to state lawmakers from America's leading pro-life organizations. Let me read the salient parts and then get into why this matters for the debate with Kristan Hawkins. Because Kristan Hawkins is part of these people. She is part of the pro-life establishment. And you will see why she cannot agree with the abolitionists and join us, and that there is not division that we're creating, but division that is real. Why is there division? Because we have our tenets, our principles, our philosophies, and our strategies and approaches built on those biblical ideas. And then they have their strategies, their approaches, their tactics, their philosophies and ideologies built on their, what I think are unbiblical tenets. We're going to get into it. So here's the letter. Look it up for yourself, right? The letter opens up talking about the draft of the Dobbs decision, and that Dobbs is about to be coming and overturning Roe v. Wade. And so it says that there's going to be lots of, laws being put forward in the states following the repeal of Roe v. Wade. And so they're getting ahead of the game here, and they're trying to stop state lawmakers from passing any of these abolition bills that are being put forward. What instigated this particular letter is that what's crazy, a pro-lifer in Louisiana agreed to sponsor an abolition bill and put it forward in the state of Louisiana. Now, he didn't really know exactly what he was doing, but he's one of those well-meaning pro-life guys that I'm talking about who didn't know that the pro-life movement opposed criminalizing abortion. And so whenever some abolitionist approached him and said, hey, here's a bill, file this. It criminalizes abortion. It'll abolish abortion in Louisiana. And he said, sure, let's do that. He put it forward in committee. The committee was made up of a bunch of well-meaning anti-abortion people, and they're like, yeah, let's send it to the floor. So they voted this bill, and it was going onto the floor for a vote in Louisiana. Mind you, if this passed in Louisiana and went to the governor and he signed it, abortion would be criminalized as murder in Louisiana. And it would not be legal to even order and take a pill in Louisiana. And the governing authorities would have been saying, this is murder, don't do it. And that would have blessed Louisiana incredibly, right? But what happened is the pro-life movement heard about this bill and that it was coming up and would be voted on, and they sent this letter, not only to Louisiana, but to all state legislators in the United States of America. Over the past 50 years, under the shadow of Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton, abortion has taken the lives of more than 63 million unborn American children. But the tragedy of abortion isn't limited to the unborn child who loses her life. The mother who aborts her child is also Roe's victim. She's the victim of a callous industry created to take lives, an industry that claims to provide for women's health, but denies the reality that far too many American women suffer devastating physical and psychological damage following abortion. Now, in one sense, I agree with everything here. I do believe that abortion is evil, it's wicked, it's killed 63 million babies, and also the presence of abortion, the temptation of abortion, the abortion industry, all the advertising and all that kind of stuff, all the propaganda, the misinformation, abortion's not this, it's a clump of cells, all that kind of stuff has, victimized women and men, but more than them, children. Children are the victims. And here's the other reality that this does not address. Abortion providers, the people who make and ship the pills, the people who set up the freestanding child sacrifice centers that you can make an appointment, they are providing a service to people who love themselves so much that they want to murder their children. And that is an undeniable fact. Even if there's propaganda, even if there's pressure, whatever you think about all of that, it remains true that the pro-choice movement is saying we need the right to abort our babies. Pro-choicers, pro-aborts, they do not think that they are victims of abortion. They think that they are liberated by abortion. They are not saying, oh, please take away Planned Parenthood. They are oppressing me. They are fighting and funding and marching for abortion. And the pro-lifers should know this, right? They should totally know this, right? The pro-choice movement is shouting their abortion. They talk about how many abortions they've had, right? They put up TikTok videos celebrating their abortions, like drinking wine and stuff about how they've got their abortion appointment set up, right? It's crazy. This is crazy. But why is this in there? It's because they're starting out this letter because they're going to make the case that abortion victimizes women and children, and that there are these bad people out there in the culture called abolitionists who are seeking to criminalize abortion. And so let me get to the salient part of the letter. The pro-life, this says, as national and state pro-life organizations representing tens of millions of pro-life men, women, and children across the country, let us be clear. We state unequivocally that we do not support any measure seeking to criminalize or punish women, and we stand firmly opposed to include such penalties in legislation. Women are victims of abortion and require our compassion and support, as well as ready access to counseling and social services in the days, weeks, months, and years following an abortion. Again, little pieces of this are true, but the brunt of it is demonically false. And actually, I would say stupid, incredibly dumb. Incredibly dumb. But let me stay focused here. We state unequivocally that we do not support any measure seeking to criminalize abortion, right? Why? Because they know you can't criminalize something without there being punishments. You can't, abortion is murder. It should be treated as murder, first degree homicide. That's what the bill was in Louisiana. That's what it was. Straight up, treat abortion as murder, criminalize it. The reason they're opposing it is because you can't say, thou shalt not murder, but if you do it, there will be no penalty. In fact, if you look at pro-life laws across this country, that's what you will find. In legislation after legislation after legislation, you will find the inclusion of text that says immunity will be given to any mother. Even in a ban on abortion, they'll include text saying that the mothers, they never call them women, but a woman, they can't have an abortion without being a mother, right? Okay, so you should call them mothers who are women who get abortions should be given immunity. That's what pro-life laws say, which is the opposite of abolishing abortion. That is keeping the laws allowing mothers to murder their children in place and protecting them from evil abolitionists who would make murdering children criminal. So the point of this letter, they say, is to tell state legislators that they oppose unequivocally, it's a hard word for me to pronounce, unequivocally. They do not support any measure, no measure anywhere to criminalize or punish women. So like there should never be a law that punishes any woman who does any kind of an abortion for any reason. So we're talking like a woman who like literally thinks that she's worshiping Satan and that he's blessing her and giving her good stuff, who's like purposely conceiving children so that she can pop the pill and so she can pee their bodies out into the toilet and collect them in jars. Like if they found her in her apartment with all these dead babies and she had murdered 40 children, the pro-life movement unequivocally thinks that she should not face any charges, penalties, or prosecution. That's what the pro-life movement's saying. Now, the problem here is they're trying to say this. The reason I opened up with that stuff about like women have been mistreated is because they're trying to make the case that what they're doing is compassionate. Because I think that's what's going on here. It's just sort of industry building. It's sort of like, it's PR. It's just a bunch of PR. Now, the letter goes on, and it just kind of starts repeating. It's like my video. It just repeats and repeats. It says that we must, this is from page 3, we must ensure that the laws we advance to protect unborn children do not harm their mothers. So that's it. That's what I'm saying. That's the North Star of the pro-life movement: equal protection without equal justice. Like, protect mothers, but not, protect babies, but not their mothers. So like a mother who like straps a child into the car seat and pushes the car off a bridge into a ravine, she can be charged with murder. But if the baby is not yet born, she can't. You know, it's sort of like unequal justice. They do not believe that you should harm mothers. And what do they think is harming mothers? Abolitionist legislation. So there's the divide, right? Not causing it, not creating it. It's there. It really is there. We think that people who actively harm their children should not be allowed to do so in our laws. Now, you should pass the law. I'm going to get to some objections, but you can pass the law, and then if they break the law, they should be punished for the act that they did and the law that they broke. That's the abolitionist position. It's simple. You might still be thinking, that's what I believe, Russ. Come on, that's what I believe. I'm a pro-lifer, that's what I believe. That is not what your pro-life leaders believe, and that's not what they say you believe when they're talking to legislators or whenever they're lobbying for their bills. They say, and here's we, right? Quote, "We are America's leading advocates for life. We come from very different backgrounds and perspectives, but we are united in our mission to protect unborn children and American women from the greed of the abortion industry." There's a little projection going on in here. "We have been in this fight for decades. Many of us have dedicated our lives to this cause. We understand better than anyone else the desire to punish the purveyors of abortion who act callously and without regard to the dignity of human life. But turning women who have abortions into criminals is not the way." Now, this is ridiculous. I read it here so that you would understand that they are saying that they are the leading advocates of life and they know better and they speak for tens of millions of pro-life Americans, right? But they actually admit that there should be justice and there should be punishment to anyone who acts callously without regard to the dignity of human life, right? So they are for punishing abortionists because they believe abortionists are murderers. Track this with me. I said this in lots of our videos when I'm out talking to people on the streets, but please track this with me. A mother who finds out, a woman who finds out she is pregnant. She is with child. She has become a mother. She pees on a stick and the stick says, "You are pregnant." She does not want to be with child, but she is. What does she do? She begins to panic. I don't want to be with child. I don't want to be with child, right? She's got a human being inside of her. Now she has a callous disregard for the dignity of human life, to the point where she's going to put her life and her dreams and her wants and desires above the life of this child. So, and in this story, this is the story of many, many, many women. She gets online and she types in, I need an abortion. How to get an abortion. Where do I get abortion? Say she lives in a state that's banned abortion, a pro-life state, where the act of abortion is not illegal, right? She can abort her baby, but there are no abortionists. The abortionists have been stopped. She goes online, how to get an abortion. She looks at the Google, page after page after page, telling her how to get a hold of pills. She orders the pill. She pays for the pill. She reads about the pill. The pill comes to her house 5 to 7 days later. She looks at the package of the pill. She's still with child. She does not want to be with child. She opens the box. She pops out the pill. She takes the first 2, and then she takes the third. Some day later, she has cramping, and that murdered child is expelled from her body, and she is no longer with child. Let me ask you, seriously, who is the abortionist in that story? That's right, the mother. The mother is the abortionist. So actually, when pro-lifers aren't doing their PR, more compassionate than Christ sort of dance, they agree with us. They agree that the abortionist should be punished. That's what they'll say. And not just in this letter, but everywhere. They're like, the abortionist should be punished, not their victims, the mothers. Now, I don't know if you guys are like with me on all the logic. Like a lot of people watch our shorts and they really like the logic. Like sometimes like people are hardcore about the biblical stuff, the science stuff and all that kind of stuff. But most of all, they like the fact that when I talk to people, I engage in Socratic dialogue and logic. Try to get the person to understand what they're saying and whether it's true or not, okay? Let's think about this logically. Think about surgical abortion doctors, the abortion industry, and abortion pill providers. Think about them. Do you think any abortion doctor wakes up in the morning, puts on his lab coat, puts his surgical gloves on, grabs his instruments, and goes out and jumps on a woman, kills her baby? Do you think that? Do you think that's how abortions happen? Do you think that abortionists go out into the culture and find babies and kill them? Or do you think that they just set up a shop and they say, we are here to offer a service? Yes, they advertise, but sadly, they don't have to. It's a culture of death, and we're addicted to sin and sex and idolatry of all kinds, and so we murder our children. Every culture in rebellion against God has practiced child sacrifice, and so why not make good on it, the abortionist thinks. So they go and they sit in their shop and they look at their appointment book, and mothers and fathers and grandparents and friends, people bring their babies to the abortionist so the abortionist can butcher them for them. The abortionist is actually a hired assassin. He is supplying and meeting a demand. He's meeting a need, right? That's why the women who want abortion, the men who want abortion, defend the abortionist, because the abortionist is providing a service for them. So logically, who is most responsible for the baby who is aborted by an abortionist? Whoever brought that baby, whoever took them to the slaughter. Proverbs 24:11-12 is what I'm quoting there. You know, Proverbs 24:11-12, rescue those who are being taken away to death, hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. That verse written, thousands and thousands of years ago, right? What is that verse talking about? It's saying that there are people in our culture who take away other people to be murdered. Yes, they may be stumbling to the slaughter, but they are taking children away to death, right? Child sacrifice. Our culture has just perfected it and set up shops and said, come here and for $600 or heck, maybe less, we'll take care of that baby for you. But who is doing the malice aforethought? Who has the mens rea, like legal term? Who has the I am with child, I don't want to be with child, I am taking this child's life, I can't do it myself, I'll go to a doctor. Who is guilty there? Now, some people might go, well, you seem really bloodthirsty against women. Like, if I could shake all the nonsense feminism out of your freaking brains, I would. But no, I have no hatred towards women. Like, I've got daughters, I've got a wife. You know, I was once inside of a woman. I have no hatred of women. What I'm talking about is the individual, whoever it is, whether it's the mother or the father or the grandparents or friends or culture, whoever it is that is guilty of taking this child to their death is guilty of murder. The fact that they set up an appointment just proves the mens rea, right? That they had the mind, the malice aforethought to terminate the child. In the case of pills, the primary way that babies are aborted in our culture to death today, in the case of pills, we are talking about who orders the pill, who takes the pill. You say, oh, we got to stop the abortion industry. There are like all sorts of crazy things that you could put in your body to murder your baby. But there's somebody out there who's perfected the exact chemical agents that you can take that won't harm you, but will kill your baby, right? That will tell your body that you need to have birth, and they'll expel the baby, stuff like that. Like, okay, are the people who made those pills evil? Should they be stopped? Sure, totally. I get that. But they're providing a service. And so the mother, or maybe it's a man and a woman, maybe it's a couple, and they're like, golly, we're not ready for children. We're not even married, right? Well, you shouldn't have been making children, right? Get married, make children, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Side video. We shouldn't have been doing that. Well, they get online together, and maybe she's like, I don't really know. And he's like, no, sweetie, we've got to do this. I am not ready to be a father. Like, the band, we're just now getting some gigs or whatever, like whatever it is, that decision to order that pill. And then when it comes to take that pill, right? Even if there's pressure at the end of the day, and by the way, I'm just saying that because there are instances where like a man orders a pill and like forces a woman to take it. She doesn't have the mens rea. She doesn't have the malice aforethought. That baby was murdered by the person who put the pill in her mouth and forced her to do it. And laws would punish him, right? Or what if it was a lesbian couple, but one of them was bi and she got, and then the other lesbian forced it, right? That would be a woman forcing her to take a pill, and that woman would be held guilty for murdering that child, even according to pro-life people. But what if, and this is the case for thousands of abortions every day, it is the mother who orders the pill, pops it out of its package, puts it in her mouth, and drinks it down. Why does she drink it down? To terminate her child. That is murder. Abolitionists believe that our legal authorities, our legislators, and our governing authorities, our governor and our president should, like our sheriffs, our law enforcement officers, should say, attention, this is murder. Thou shalt not murder. If you murder a human being, you will be punished. That's very simple. That's what abolitionists are asking for. And when we ask for it, the pro-life movement says, We do not support any measure seeking to criminalize or punish women, and we stand firmly opposed to include such penalties in legislation. Criminalizing women is antithetical to our charge. Turning women who have had abortions into criminals is not the way. They're making it all feminist. They're making it all about protecting women, protecting women, protecting women, to cover up the fact that they're protecting the act of murdering babies with malice aforethought because people love themselves more than their children. The reason that we have to have an abolitionist movement is not only to abolish abortion and protect all these children, but there needs to be an abolitionist movement to do away with the pro-life movement, because the pro-life movement is opposed to criminalizing abortion. Not rocket science. So, how does the letter end? The letter ends by saying, we call upon all pro-life legislators to stand with us. Who are us? America's leading advocates for life. We ask you to continue to act with love and compassion towards abortion vulnerable women. Next time you're in an argument with someone who is for abortion, tell them that they're an abortion vulnerable woman. Tell them that they are a victim of the abortion industry, and watch them laugh in your face, and you'll deserve it. We urge you to reject any measure that seeks to criminalize women who have abortions. We urge you to reject any measure that seeks to criminalize women who have abortions. Translation, we, the advocates of the leading advocates of life, the pro-life movement, the pro-life establishment, urge you to oppose any bill or any law that would abolish abortion. That's what they're doing. That's what the pro-life movement not only has been doing for the past 50 years, but that's what they're doing right now. Abolition bills have been filed and put forward in many states across the country. And do you know who kills those bills? It's not the pro-choicers. It's not Planned Parenthood. It's not the Democrats. It's not the socialist or the Marxist. You know who sits in those committees and kills the bills? It's these people. And then they want to keep it secret. They want to cover it up. Now, you might be thinking as we neared the end of the video, welcome to my channel, by the way. You know, a man that does a lot of shorts has a lot to say here. This is very important. Thank you for sticking with me and watching. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with Kristan Mercer Hawkins, Students for Life of America, myself, and a potential debate about these things? Well, Kristan Mercer Hawkins, who you may see on YouTube or TikTok or Twitter, fighting to protect children, fighting to protect women, fighting these evil abortion people, Kristan Mercer Hawkins is herself part of this pro-life establishment and making her way up the ladder, and she is committed to these very principles, this project, this plan of opposing the abolition of abortion. Whereas you may look at this and say, well, Students for Life of America isn't on this letter. No, Students for Life of America is on all sorts of letters like this. In fact, recently, Kristan Mercer Hawkins signed a letter specifically sent to a state where there was a bill to abolish abortion being proposed in the state legislature and had lots of co-sponsors. And behind the scenes, the pro-life movement swept in and killed that bill. So Kristan Mercer Hawkins is doing exactly what the leaders of the pro-life establishment are telling her to do. As they said in their letter, quote, "We will continue to oppose legislative and policy initiatives that criminalize women who seek abortions." That's what Kristan Mercer Hawkins is doing. You say, oh, is there any evidence of that? Yes. Recently, Kristan Hawkins signed onto a letter opposing a bill to abolish abortion in North Dakota. Students for Life of America has done this in multiple states. In fact, anywhere there's been a bill to abolish abortion, Students for Life of America has an action, a legislative arm, will go into that state and put forward pro-life bills and tell the legislators, vote for this pro-life abortion regulation instead of this abolish abortion because it's murder. And that's been going on for a decade, right? You say, oh, but she's good. She's good in building up these student groups and training them to fight the pro-aborts and all this kind of stuff. Okay, that stuff may be fine if it didn't come with it anti-abolitionism. Like this is a handout that Students for Life of America under Kristan Hawkins passed out on college campuses all across the country about the time that abolition bills were becoming more and more popular. As more and more people became abolitionists and more legislators began putting forward bills to abolish abortion, Students for Life of America went onto college campuses using money that was given to them by good, well-meaning pro-lifers who think that they're trying to abolish abortion because sometimes they put that on their signs. SFLA took that money and printed up this handout and handed it out to students at their events. Who are the victims of abortion? Preborn children and women. Well, okay, Russ, you kind of agree with that a little bit. Here, I'll put this up on the screen. I'm going to read it, but I'll put it up on the screen. No, women should not be jailed. Abortionists are the focus of laws and prosecution of illegal abortion cases. No current legislation is calling for women to be punished or jailed after having an abortion. That's not true. There are bills of abolition that don't call for women to be jailed, don't call for women or men or anyone to be punished. They just say there should be no exemption or no special murder rights for mothers. That's all they say. That the laws against murder should be equally applied to all people. That's what abolitionist bills do, and they did exist. But SFLA, Kristan Hawkins, the pro-life establishment is telling people in defense of people that are saying, oh, you pro-lifers are bad. They're saying, no, there's no current legislation from the pro-life movement calling for women to be punished or jailed after having an abortion. That's a straw man of ours. Well, I just went over that. Even a recent Alabama law banning all abortions stated, quote, no woman upon whom an abortion is performed or attempted to be performed shall be criminally or civilly liable. And it says the section. So I'm reading this now to corroborate everything that I've said in this video so far. Okay, I'm just telling you, what I'm saying is not false. It's what they are saying about themselves. At the end of this document, it says, no pro-life organization works to punish women for being victimized by the abortion industry. For more information, visit studentsforlife.org. No pro-life organization works to punish women for being victimized by the abortion industry. This is something that they printed with money that was given to them by people who want to criminalize abortion, people who want to abolish abortion. And they are saying no pro-life organization wants to make abortion illegal and criminal and extend the laws against murder equally to all preborn human beings. No pro-life organization wants that. No pro-life organization is seeking that. And here's where I return to where this video started. That's true, but that is precisely what the abolitionist movement is seeking to do. The abolitionist movement is seeking to extend the laws against murder equally to all people. And yes, we believe that laws should be written saying thou shalt not murder any human being anywhere, period. When we write those laws, the pro-life movement, everyone from March for Life, National Right to Life, Students for Life of America, Americans United for Life, Live Action, all of these groups, New Wave Feminist, ERLC of the Southern Baptist Convention, they all are in concert together to oppose our very simple measure, thou shalt not murder any human being anywhere. If you do murder an innocent human being, you will be put on trial and you will be prosecuted for that crime if you are guilty of that crime. That's not harsh. That is not harsh. If that's harsh, then you think prosecuting murderers of born people is harsh. You think that anyone who murders anyone anywhere, because think about it, say there's a gangbanger, right? And he does a drive-by and he shoots up a bunch of people because he was being peer pressured to do it as part of being jumped into the gang. That guy gets caught, he gets put on trial. There's consequences, right? Right? Just think about any kind of case against any kind of murder. Are those harsh? Is that evil? Whenever a woman murders her toddler and she's put on trial and it turns out that she, with malice aforethought, determined to kill her toddler because she wanted to take a trip to Vegas. That's an actual thing that happened once. Should she be protected from the justice system? That's all we're doing. It's not lacking compassion. In fact, we call abortion murder, say it should be criminalized because we have compassion on and for women. Because a lot of women are growing up in a culture and they're being told abortion is wrong, by church people and others. And they're being told, no, abortion is good by feminists and secularists and others, right? And they're growing up and then they look to the legislature and they look to their governing authorities, and their governing authorities, even the pro-life ones, say, if you do this, you're not going to get in trouble. So they begin to be tutored by that law and they begin to think it really isn't that bad. And so when that temptation comes up, they do it because, after all, even if they know it's murder, they're not facing any homicide raps. And the law is supposed to work as a tutor, and it's supposed to instruct people of how they ought to live. It's also supposed to protect people because the law understands that people love themselves, right? First and foremost, and that we struggle to love our neighbors as ourselves. So a law is put forward to protect other people by threatening the people who would harm them with punishment. This is how all law has always worked everywhere. And so mothers who live in states or nations that tell them, if you murder a child in your womb, you will be treated exactly the same as a mother who murders her toddler in the living room. When they're told that, that protects them from murdering their children. That protects them from the psychological harm. That protects them from the spiritual damage. All of the things that the pro-life movement wants to be compassionate about would be protected, would be helped. Women would be told, don't do this evil thing. You will be punished. And out of self-preservation, women would, lo and behold, start working a lot harder not to get pregnant when they're not ready to raise their children. That would bless society, right? Men would start working a lot harder whenever they knew that the women that they impregnate can't just go get an abortion and have the protection of the governing authorities and culture. This is not rocket science. This is what abolitionists are trying to do, and this is what pro-lifers are standing in the way of. Other things, just want to say real quick as we end this video. There were a number of questions that kind of came up underneath my challenge to Kristan Hawkins. Let me just say this before I get to them. Let me just say this. The reason that I'm challenging Kristan Hawkins to a debate is because I believe that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Americans who are pro-life in name, but abolitionist in spirit. They're actually with the abolitionist movement. They actually believe that thou shalt not murder ought to be applied equally to all people. But they are under the erroneous, misleading knowledge that the pro-life movement is for that. And I'm trying to extricate, I'm trying to wake up people. People need to see Kristan Mercer Hawkins debate in favor of her position. Abortion should not be criminalized. Abortion should never, like no mother who seeks an abortion should ever be prosecuted, face any penalties. People need to see that that is the position of the pro-life movement and watch as they try to defend and argue for a position that is so vacuous, that is so on its face, self-contradictory, so ineffective, and ultimately utterly unbiblical, unrealistic, does not comport with reality as God made reality, does not comport with the Word of God as God clearly stated who he was and what we were to do. That's why I want to debate Kristan Mercer Hawkins, because if that debate happens, the blinders come off and people will see that the pro-life movement is not what they have always thought it was. Now, you might be thinking, well, did the pro-life movement become this way? No, the pro-life movement has always been this way. This has always been the case. The abolitionist movement actually started back in 2010. It emerged precisely for this reason, because the pro-life movement is not for the abolition of abortion. And though they promise to protect preborn humans from abortion, you cannot protect preborn humans without punishing those who would kill them. Hope I made that point clear. All right, so to conclude, there were a number of comments underneath my debate challenge for Kristan Mercer Hawkins that I wanted to talk about. First off, the opening comments where people were like confused and stuff, the comments that I opened this video with, where I said that people were confused, were actually a minority of the comments. So I was very pleased that the vast majority of comments underneath my video were people who got it, people who understood. I was very pleased. Like a lot of people were like, yes, I want to see this debate. I want to see this debate. But there were a number of people that mentioned, there's no way she's going to debate you. Her position is indefensible. But I wanted to highlight a few comments just so people understand a few things. One, there are, praise God for this. There are a number of people who have been really figuring this out. Like this has been, it's not been me telling them that this is the case, but they've started to see it themselves. I love these comments, and so I want to read these. This is from a guy at Rug Spiffy, and he says, I previously subscribed to Students for Life of America, but Kristan Hawkins often comes across as an insincere, arrogant, and bitter, and which always seems strange to me. Then I stumbled across one of her videos in which she blatantly denied women who murder their unborn children should face any consequences at all. And I realized that she was a fraudster, right? Okay, this comment has so much to it. I'm not reading this just to be mean, but this is all, like, seriously, praise God, because this is somebody who's like, man, I want to fight abortion. I subscribe to Students for Life of America. I was looking, why does Kristan Hawkins come across as insincere? Well, because she is very insincere. She's trying to fight abortion while she's also secretly fighting abolition. That's what she's secretly doing. She's working herself up the ladder in the pro-life establishment to be one of the names on that list, right? So she's got this insincerity at heart. Like the view that she's arguing for and the trade secret that she's keeping down, that insincerity is detectable by people, and I think that's awesome. And then this note about how this brother or sister came across this video where she blatantly denies women who murder their unborn children should face consequences. I love it. This is the fact of the matter. Like, if abolitionists weren't out here doing what we're doing and exposing the division that's really there, Kristan Mercer Hawkins wouldn't have ever made and put forward that video that this person saw. right? So this is not creating division. This is pointing out division that's there, that the pro-life movement does not believe women should face consequences, right? This is another one that I thought was really good. This is from J.P. Krall. He says, I used to watch the Students for Life organization content quite a lot until the debate with Destiny, being a complete S show. That's when I started hearing out the abolitionist argument. And that's when you guys solidified my understanding of what ought to happen regarding abortion. Now I see all the work people like Kristan Hawkins are doing to prolong the abortion issue, killing bills that involve the criminalization of abortion to everyone and sharing an inconsistent message. It's simple. If it's murder, it should be prosecuted, whether it's a gun, a knife, or surgical instruments. Like, this is awesome. This is a person who's just getting it without me showing it. This is someone who's tracking. And that's the trade secret of the abolitionist movement. We know from looking at our comments and our contacts, the number of people who've messaged us that are like former SFLA, former pro-lifers. Like, I've got a file that is just bursting at the seams of people telling me that they used to be pro-life, but the incoherency, the inconsistency, and their inability of the pro-life leaders to actually treat abortion as murder woke them up to the abolitionist argument. And that is awesome. So thank you, J.P. Krall. Those comments are fantastic. Here are some comments from some people that explain saliently why Kristen Mercer, I'm challenging her to a debate. I would love to actually get on a stage instead of like talking to you fine folks for an hour. I would love to have a formal debate with back and forth, statements, rebuttals, questions. I would love it, but I don't think it's actually going to happen. In fact, I would love it if she says, well, I'm not a good debater. I would love it if Scott Klusendorf, who hates my freaking guts, or Seth Gruber, who hates, Seth Gruber, everything I'm saying about all these people, Seth Gruber, he's trying to figure out which ladder, where's the table and how do I get a seat at it? But Seth Gruber, that guy freaking hates me and murders me all the time in his heart. I would love it if Seth Gruber would have a debate. He's one of these guys that's these women shouldn't be criminalized. But then as he starts seeing more and more people are no, they should. He's trying to finagle. He's well, maybe they should be punished, but maybe after 50 years. And so he's really on record, but now he's trying to rewrite all that so that he can, have a seat at the abolition table or whatever. I would love it if he or Scott Klusendorf or any of his heroes in the pro-life movement would debate me. I'm not even a good debate. I'm a good street debater, but I'm not a good formal debater. So it would be even. But I would love to debate. But this person, right? This one's from Lucky5783. Who writes, she doesn't want to debate you because you're too mean? What about all the pro-choice people she debates? They cuss, scream, and yell at her, insult her, and make fun of her. She's not worried about you being mean. She's worried about you being right and doesn't want to admit it. She's worried about having to change everything she stands for. That is 100% right on. That is right. That is so right. She's not going to want to debate me because she knows that merely standing up and defending the position that she holds and the position that the pro-life movement has quadrupled down on will expose the whole thing and ruin everything they stand on, everything they've done for the past 50 years. And that's why this is catching some of y'all off guard, right? That's why I call it the trade secret. Yes. She's worried. These people are very worried. We actually are getting intel from people who are in chats with Students for Life of America leadership and all this kind of stuff, where they are don't talk to abolitionists, don't debate them, don't say anything, don't just ignore. And that's the policy. That the reason some of you have not heard of abolitionists for the last decade is because that's what they've been doing. They've been working super hard to keep people from hearing abolitionists and hearing our critiques and hearing our message that we want to debate for the sake of unity. Here's another one. This is from Princess Baba Bear 4794. How crazy. Princess Baba Bear, were there really 4,794 people that chose Princess Baba Bear before? Sorry. Okay. This is what Princess says. Ironic thing is that she would face angry, violent college kids and put herself in danger on campuses, but she won't talk to you because you're so mean? I call bullcrap. 100%. Total bullcrap. I mean, we are talking about some major heifer crap because straight up, the idea that she won't debate me or any other abolitionist because we're mean is exactly false, because she will stand in a room with a bunch of pro-choicers lined up at a microphone who will yell at her and scream at her and cuss at her and make fun of her in all sorts of ways. And she will do it for the clicks, right? This whole, she won't do it because you're mean. I love the fact that people see through it. There are a whole bunch of comments. They were also pointing out the fact that I'm like such a super nice guy whenever I'm talking to people. Well, the fact of the matter is I do try to be nice. I do try to be Christ-like and loving and kind. But when you're speaking the truth in love, the people who are on the other side of that truth always feel like you are too mean and you're too hateful. They really do. That's why, like, when you watch the shorts of me on Abolitionist Rising, you look at it and you're like, Russell's not being mean. These people are acting like he's attacking them. He's literally just standing there speaking truth. Like, that's not mean. And here's the fact. People who are wrong, whenever they are put into contact with truth, they feel attacked. Kristan Mercer Hawkins holds false ideas. In the face of truth, she feels attacked. All of the accusations that abolitionists are mean boil down to exactly the same thing that the LGBTQ people feel and say about Christians being mean. Christians saying that homosexuality is a sin according to the word of God. Like, I love you, I want to help you, I don't want to hurt you, I just think that the Bible is clear that God did not make people to be homosexual. Like, that's not, that you're in rebellion, right? You're just saying stuff like that and you're saying it real nice. They feel attacked and they say you're mean, right? The same thing that's happening there is happening with Kristan Mercer Hawkins and abolitionists. I don't know any mean abolitionists. I really don't. And I know thousands of abolitionists. There were some other really, like, let me, these are my favorite comments and I'll end the video. Those are my favorite comments. I love those, but those are my favorite. Sorry. Love you. Those are my favorite. Here's two questions that I think are really good that I want to put in here because they came up frequently, so I want to put them in here. The first one was a question about retroactive punishment. This one came up a couple of times, people asking for clarification on my position. Hope Doty, right? She asked, quick question. Do abolitionists believe that women that murdered their babies before criminalization laws are passed should face jail time as well? Or is it just women who murder their babies after these laws are passed, right? Another version of this question, can you clarify your position? This is from Generose 9083. Can you clarify your position? Do you think that all mothers who kill their babies should be retroactively punished legally if a law were to be put in place tomorrow? Or only those who do it from that point on? Because I agree with the latter, right? The reason I want to bring up this question is because I want to answer it first and foremost. I answer both of these in the comments. But first and foremost, just everyone, no abolitionist bill, no abolitionist is calling for retroactive punishment. That is not what anyone's calling for. That's not how the law works, right? We're saying establish a law, abortion is murder. If you break this law to do this crime, then you'll be punished. But no one who previously aborted babies under the color and protection of laws should be punished. So, like, all these people who've murdered their babies and they've followed the law, like pro-lifers have passed laws. You have to do it with the 72-hour waiting period. You have to do it in this kind of clinic. They got to have this kind of medical license. They've got to have, they followed all these pro-life laws that tell them how to abort their babies and what they should not be punished. They murdered their children with protection of the law, right? Our law does not work. We can't go back and punish them. And no abolitionist is calling for that. So no, it would just be pass the law, put it in the newspaper, proclaim it from the pulpits everywhere. Abortion is now murdered. If you do this, you will be treated as a murderer, right? Then when people break that law and they're caught, then they would be tried in a court of law. And also they would get to provide a defense. If they were coerced, they would get to provide a defense. If they were forced, if they didn't truly do it on purpose, like whatever, they would get to provide a defense. The same kind of laws against murder applied equally to all people. Same protection, same justice. But great question. Now the coercion one, which I kind of said there, someone asked this, it always comes up. But the reason I want to read this particular one is this shows that this person has actually listened to the pro-life movement and what the pro-life movement says about these things, because the pro-life movement doesn't know how to really stop the just thou shalt not murder applied equally to all people. So what they try to do is accuse us of retroactive punishment to try to make us look like crazies and all this kind of stuff. And then they bring up the fact that women are forced, and they try to say that all women are forced. We know that's not true. That's crazy. Like that is anyone who's ever fought abortion at any level knows that the vast majority of mothers who murder their children via abortion are choosing to do it, not being forced to do it, even if they're being, peer pressured even. But anyway, so this person, Ollie on Everstone, no numbers, Ollie on Everstone says, you really want to see someone who was forced to abort their child to face punish? You are mean in a nice way. Sure, the ones who choose to do it actively don't care, but if you make it a law, you have to consider why people are confused about miscarriages too. Also, I stopped to watch the moment you did, I think meant to say did, to bring up her character. The pro-life movement is a lot farther than the abolitionist to making killing the unborn illegal. You know, the ones that the movement wants the doctors to be punished. Honestly, to hear you say that women need to go to jail for doing it is crazy, because a lot of time people are coerced or tricked. Yeah, you get mean. I watch your stuff. You get sarcastic and mean a lot when facing others who, yes, are sarcastic and mean to you. Okay, so I've got no hatred towards this commenter, but I do think that this person is actually coming from a pro-life position. Like, she believes and follows the pro-life establishment's misinformation about abolitionists, right? One, we don't think that people who are forced to abort their children should be punished. We think that the law should be written against the act of abortion, and whoever is committing the act of abortion should be punished. That's who we think should be punished, should be put on trial and punished if they're found guilty by the law, by their peers, right? So, yeah, in this case, no, not exactly, not at all. All abolitionist bills and proposals that have been put forward have included protections for people who are coerced. Actually, that's already in the law. Like, it's already in the law that, like, if someone forces you to harm someone else, like at gunpoint or something like that, you have a defense and you will not be charged with murder, right? You have a defense. So we believe that you should not acquit the guilty, those who are guilty of murder. You should also not punish those who are not guilty of murder. And so people who are not guilty of murder will not be punished. There's also, like, she brings up this idea of miscarriage, that yes, there are miscarriages, right? And yes, it is kind of messy. It's a situation. Probably should do a whole other video on it. But no, we are talking about people who intentionally destroy their children. Like someone who orders an abortion pill, takes the abortion pill, and their baby is murdered is not experiencing a miscarriage. Heartbreaking loss. I've lost 2 children that way. But no, people who have miscarriages will not be punished in the event that laws establishing equal justice for the preborn are passed. The rest of this comment about how, like, whatever, I've already dealt with some of this. The idea that doctors should be punished but not anyone else, and that I'm really meanerson and I get sarcastic and stuff. I am not perfect. I do get sarcastic. Sometimes, you got to know when and when you shouldn't. But the fact of the matter is I'm sorry you think that about me, but just consider and examine yourself whether or not you think all that stuff because you are sort of hook, line, and sinker with the pro-life movement and therefore running everything I do through that filter. I'm not being mean if you're on the side of truth. All right, so sorry. Where's my favorite comments. These comments make me feel like either A, the abolitionist movement is succeeding, or B, just the Spirit of God or the logic and moral power of the argument is gaining ground, okay? Like, these comments are awesome. Awesome points that I just want to throw into the mix of all this. First off, Grateful Pipe and Cigar 3239. Awesome. This is the best comment. It says, this is the only philosophy against abortion that makes sense. Just because the world will never want to hear these views doesn't make them wrong. 100%, brother. 100%. Like, that's it, man. The reason that Kristan Mercer Hawkins doesn't want to debate abolition is because if you put the pro-life view and the abolition view on the same stage at the same time, only one of them after an hour will make any sense. There might be people who want the one that doesn't make sense to be true because they're the world and they want it, but that won't make it right. Excellent comment. Okay, this one's from Opinion by Triz. It is bizarre that she'd say the same thing that pro-abortion and feminists say about pro-lifers. As a woman who had an abortion at 20 years old, I am pro-abolishing abortion. If it had been illegal, I wouldn't have even gone along with the baby's father's desire to abort the baby. This comment is like a summation of so much of what I'm saying in 2 sentences, believe it or not. No, like, once you listen to everything that I've been saying, this comment, right? Like, she's right. Like, Kristan Mercer Hawkins, she sounds like the pro-abortion feminist when they talk about pro-lifers, right? So whenever it's a pro-lifer debating a pro-choicer, the pro-choicer misrepresents and accuses the pro-lifer of being mean and hurting them and attacking women and all this kind of stuff, right? Because in that instance of pro-life versus pro-choice, the pro-choicer is the one that's trying to argue for something evil and wrong, and the pro-lifer, babies should not be aborted, just basic, is right. And so that's the right person talking to the wrong person, and the wrong person accusing the right person of being hateful and mean and hating women and attacking women and so on and so forth. So excellent point there. Opinion by Triz. Triz, great opinion. And then the rest, whenever she talks, this is Triz, testifying. She says, as a woman who had an abortion at 20 years old, right? This is a woman who's had an abortion. She is I'm assuming that she's been forgiven, set free, walking in the newness that comes with knowing and following Christ. But now, as someone who's been set free, she's for abolishing abortion. Why? Because if it had been illegal, she wouldn't have even gone along with the baby's father and his desire, right? So if you're really concerned about all these men that are coercing or leading, like, think about this. She's saying that the father wanted the abortion, right? This young lady at 20 years old didn't want the abortion. The father took her to get an abortion. Let me tell you one thing. If you pass an abolition law criminalizing abortion, do you know what men won't be able to do? Take you to get an abortion. You really are concerned about women in this exact situation. Pass a bill abolishing the act of abortion as murder. There will not be freestanding child sacrifice centers, and there will not be upfront legal ways to get and take pills. It'll all have to be done against the law. And men are not going to, some are. There's laws against murder, and people break those laws when they really want to murder. And that's just the reality of how wicked we are. But if it had been illegal, I wouldn't have gone along with the father. This woman would have a child today if a bill to abolish abortion had been passed. Makes you wonder when this happened, because pro-lifers have been killing bills of abolition for 15 years. Or, well, no, not 15 years, since 2016. 2016, first abolition bill in Oklahoma. Abolition bills every year since then. Pro-lifers have been opposing them. And because of that, that baby's dead. and millions more. And then here's this awesome point. I'll end the video here. Awesome point from Clay Holiday, 7797. Quote, "It's not like they don't understand the concept, because every feminist pro-lifer is very much in favor of maximum criminal penalties for a father who surreptitiously gives his wife or girlfriend the abortion pill. There are no excuses for him about the culture teaching him it was acceptable." Right? I think that you could do a whole presentation from this point. Excellent, Clay. Excellent. Just to connect it to everything I've said and to bring it home to Kristan Hawkins, right? Because he talks about how all of these feminists, like Kristan Hawkins is a feminist, right? She's a woman all about working that job and leading and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to get into all that part of this, but she's got the stay-at-home husband homeschooling her children while she's running around. She is a feminist in action and in ideology, and it's actually her feminism and the feminism of the pro-life movement. Look at it. Don't take my word for it. Look at the list. Look at the number of women that are leading these organizations that claim to be feminist, right? The New Wave feminist and the feminists that lead the ERLC, right? They're all feminist, right? Look it up. Every feminist pro-lifer is very much, right? It's not like they don't understand justice, very much in favor of criminal penalties for fathers. When it's a man who murders a baby, that man should be punished, regardless of the fact that the culture has taught that man that abortion doesn't kill a baby, it's just a clump of cells, or that abortion is the way to get ahead. You need to plan your family, right? That man who's been indoctrinated by the same culture that has indoctrinated women, the same propaganda, that man, when the man causes the abortion, he should be punished. And the pro-lifers call for it when the abortionist calls for it, right? Salient point. Thank you, Clay. I'm going to steal that and use that on the streets. Look for it in an upcoming short. Okay, so sorry, everybody, that was kind of a long video. I hope there was a lot to learn. As you know and notice from the fact that I've talked about all these comments, I do read the comments below. And I will not be always responding in a video of this length to comments. But if you do have serious comments or questions or want to make statements, please put them below. I am very interested in it. Ultimately, I am not doing this for clicks. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this as a job. I want to put myself out of a job. I have you see all this stuff. This is just what my office looks like. I make these signs and I draw the pictures and all that kind of stuff. This is what I'm doing because I'm trying to abolish abortion. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But my heart is in earth history, science, and that sort of thing. I would love to get back to that, but I'm right now living in a culture that kills its children, and I'm trying to build an abolitionist movement that will succeed in criminalizing child sacrifice so that my most innocent and littlest neighbor will be protected in the way that I'd want to be protected, and that our laws are no longer contrary to the higher law of God. I'm trying to do that, trying to build an abolitionist movement. So I'm starting to use this channel to get into the nitty-gritty details with the people who really care. So if you have questions and you want me to talk about things, you really do want to understand why the abolitionist movement says this or does this. And this is just one of the differences. There are 5 very real differences between pro-lifers and abolitionists. And I'm really just talking about one in this video. So comment below. If you're watching this video and you'd like to subscribe, I don't got very many subscribers. We've got the Abolitionist Rising channel. It's doing well. We're growing in subscribers there. Praise God for that. This channel, it's so I can put up stuff with, longer form, just me talking content that won't drag the algorithm down over there. But if you like this material, please do like it, subscribe it, and if you could help me out by sharing it around, that would be good. the more I build up this channel, the more people I will reach. So thank you for watching all this. Thank you for being a part of the abolitionist movement. If you're not yet part of the Abolitionist Rising Discord, you should join that, because all of this stuff I'm talking about is actually debated and discussed by lots of abolitionists all over the country, and you can find abolitionists in your state on that Discord server. So I'll put the link to the Abolitionist Rising Discord in the description below. I'll end this out by saying we're trying to abolish abortion to the glory of God, and were it not for him and the grace that he showed me, a sinner, I would not be doing this. I'd be doing something else. But I'm so happy that the people of God are coming together in unity to oppose all of the things that would divide us and keep us from doing the work that God has determined that we do in the world for his glory and the good of our neighbors. Thanks.